Hello, everybody. It's so great to be back for yet another episode of the Growth Invitation Season 2, where I am super committed to bringing on powerful females who are from all around the world to share the story of challenges, of growth, as an invitation to every single one of you out there that no matter what you do, where you are, what you've experienced, what your starting point is, where you've come from, you can always choose to grow and manifest your dream future. And today I have the honor of bringing on an incredible guest, Yvonne Bignall, who is going to be talking to us about her journey and sharing her journey about what it's like, to live a life without being on empty. I'm not going to steal your word. I know you're going to share it later, Yvonne. So I was like, how can I say it in a different way? So Yvonne, welcome. Thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. I would love if you could give us a quick intro of your new brand.
Yeah, Jeanette, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on. It's absolutely a pleasure and a joy. I just love whenever we get the opportunity to have conversations, it's joyful, right? So this is a wonderful place to be. And yes, so my new branding yesterday, I launched my new branding for my coaching business, Yvonne B Coaching. And we were talking a little bit earlier, and I don't know if you want me to get into that now, but we were talking a little bit earlier about, how that has come to be, because I've been working for myself for 20 years now. And I have transitioned through a number of businesses. Some have been outright failures, and some have been absolute, have been successful. However, I kind of outgrew them or grew into another space. So I kind of love that this program is all about that growth, because let me tell you, if for any bizarre reason you feel that there's growth without challenges, you think that there's growth without dips, let me be the person to wake you up and say, it ain't true. There are dips, there are challenges, but the beautiful thing is they are also lessons, and they are, generally speaking, some of the best lessons that we get to have. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. I'll talk a bit more about the branding as we kind of unfold the story, Jeanette.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I do want to bring that up because so many people think, oh, I've got this now, I can't change. I'm doing this now, I can't rebrand. Oh, but what if, what if this happens? What if that happens? I can't change my partner. I can't change my business. I can't change my job. I can't change whatever, right? But as we both know, because we're both coaches, as we both know, it's you evolve, you change as a human. That is the most normal thing ever. So why would we expect ourselves to stay stuck in exactly the same place, doing exactly the same thing, which then leads us to feel, and exactly what the title says, empty. So I would love for you to share with us your story, Yvonne, around this, because I know you've got an incredible story, and I know that the audience, it just puts things into perspective.
Yeah, and I guess there are kind of two perhaps different stories, but feed on the same title, because the initial story and kind of the bigger story is that I've spent the best part of my life working in health and fitness from the tender age of 19. So, we're talking like 40 years. I have worked predominantly in health and fitness. I have gone off and done other things. I worked for British Airways as a stewardess. I did some really, really dodgy jobs like importing and exporting. I don't even know how I got into that. But so I have this kind of umbrella of stuff, delivering training, delivering coaching, all these different things, all these different skills. And for the best part of those 20 years, before the 20 years I started working for myself, I did work that I love. I did enjoy my jobs. I was also very flighty. So the minute I felt like I'd had enough, I would leave and I would just go find something else. And I felt confident being able to do that. What was really interesting, though, was at the age of 38, I was in a job that I enjoyed. I worked with a really lovely team of people. right? Really great people. And sometimes the people are the things that keep you in the spot that you're in, not the actual work, right? Because the job itself I had outgrown. I was working for an international chain of health clubs. I was working in the procurement department. I was the office manager and the PA to one of the directors. And things were happening in the business. The business was kind of getting leaner and I was made redundant. Now, I always say, be careful what you put out into the universe, because a month before I was made redundant, I was just like, it's coming up to Christmas. I'm going to go back. I'm going to work there for 3 months and I'm going to hand my notice in and go. That was what I had said to myself prior to the Christmas. First day back at work in the new year, I was made redundant. So just understand that you may get what you asked for quicker than you thought. And the difference is, now the thing is, what's really interesting though, Jeanette, is that I was kind of, for the best part, okay with that. So this is what I wanted. I wanted to leave. However, there is something about being made redundant that also feeds into the story as I'm not enough, or what did I do wrong, or I wasn't good enough, and all of that stuff. So suddenly there's a flurry of thoughts and feelings that was like, whoa, where did that come from? I thought this was a good thing. So I kind of spent a whole week licking my wounds and feeling very sorry for myself. But it was also at a time that so many other things were not great. I was coming out of a long-term relationship. I was going into another relationship. I was having an absolute torturous time with my then teenage son, and, you know, hormones raging, both on his side and mine, I think. So there was just a lot of stuff going on, and I was not happy. I certainly was not joyful. And I thought at the time, it's okay, I've looked after myself, you know, I'm physically well, I'll be fine. What I hadn't realized is that my emotional and mental health were not great. They were not in a good place. No amount of physical activity was going to correct all of that. Okay. And I had not paid attention to those things because, to be honest, I never thought I really needed to. So at that point in my life, I was running on empty. I was depleted. And I know this now because I can remember avoiding friends calling me. Like, I just didn't want to speak to anyone. I just didn't want to speak to anyone. I felt really bad. I felt embarrassed. There were so many things going on internally. And I thought, I need to do something about this. I can't stay in this place. So I guess to some degree there was something switched on and said, this is not somewhere where you're going to get comfortable. You need to get out of this ASAP. Fortunately, I got into work relatively quickly after the redundancy. So that was great. That took care of that. The relationship issues were continuing. The parenting issues were also continuing. So I thought, right, I need to invest. And this is really interesting because I remember saying to myself, I need to invest some time in my development. I don't even know where that came from. I don't know where that message came from, but it hit me, and it hit me hard. And I spent the next 2 years, one, deciding that I wanted to work for myself, and two, doing personal development. I mean, I just jumped in. Any CD, DVD, anything I could get my hands on, I was there, just absorbing all this information and just realizing that, wow, this stuff is so powerful. And whilst I had done all this work and spent all this time in the physical well-being field, I had not paid any attention to what the hell was going on up here and what patterns I have been running on, and how that has brought me to where I am. My patterns, my behaviors, my results. I could own that in that moment. And that for me was also really powerful. And, you know, without going on and on too much, it took me to a place where I did the personal development work. I moved from London to Bath. And that was a wonderful kind of, almost like a refresh for me. But at the time when I came to Bath, I just didn't really know why I was being pulled. And then as I kind of spent more time, I found myself kind of walking, and then walking became running. And then I found the canal and I started running. And I had this one afternoon, and this is the poignant bit, is I had this one afternoon, I was running along the canal. It was all very lovely, sun was shining. And I just came to this really quiet spot. just surrounded by nature. There was canal boats further along, but I was just surrounded by all this green and this water. And I burst into tears. I mean, I am talking like a flood. They just, honestly, I was literally standing there with my hands out thinking, what is going on? Because it was streaming. And I just thought, I need this. It was just like, I need this. And I sat down on the ground and I just allowed myself to cry. And I must have been there for a good 10 minutes or so. I don't know how long. I didn't really time it. But what I realized is all of that was coming out was what I'd been holding in my body. I had been
Wow.
holding all of that stress and all that pressure, all of those thoughts about myself, about life, about others. I'd been holding it. And it was, had I not found that outlet, I really do feel my health would have taken a bad turn. But in that moment, I just knew I needed to accept this and let it all out. Because I knew if I continued and just I've got my job or I've started my business, but I just continued in the same way I had been doing before, I wasn't going to get very far because my tank was still dry. There was
Mm,
nothing there. So this experience really allowed me to one connect with nature and realize that actually nature just holds us. Right? It's just like this gift that is holding us and wanting the best for us. And that two, that it was actually okay to let everything go, to just free myself from all that has been and start afresh. And
yeah.
from that point, I could grow. I could step into my power. I could start exploring again with a sense of adventure, while still working on myself, while still rebuilding myself. But actually, just taking that lesson from nature for me was just a game changer. And for me, when we look at nature, always it's constantly giving us lessons and teaching us things. We flourish, but we also have to be stripped bare. Look at winter, and then we
Mm.
spring back, and then we grow and we flourish, and then we come into ourselves again. These are the lessons that I have picked up along the way, and they serve me. And we flourish and grow when we allow ourselves to go through these processes. That's my honest belief.
Wow, that there is so much to unpack there. Like the first thing, about how much we hold, how much we actually hold in our bodies. And, no matter how, whichever way you want to let it out, let it out. Otherwise, it becomes like a shouting argument, like a shouting match with someone, or you lash out for no reason. I've certainly had my share of that, as you can tell. um, and then also the second thing is like, just crying is not a bad thing. It really isn't. My goodness, we can talk the whole whole day about this. Crying is
Absolutely.
not a bad thing. It's about releasing. And then the third, we'll come back and kind of touch upon all of these later. But then, and also the third thing is like growing. Literally, it's like the four seasons. It is literally just like the four seasons. Growing doesn't mean like I just go, 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 go. Like growing means you gotta let stuff go, like release
Yes.
it, like the dead of the winter. And then then you can come back out and flourish, and there's some flowers, and then you get like you're blossoming, and then it's the summer when you're like your prime time and having fun, and then you might go, oh wait, I think I need to shed another lot of and shed another layer. That's the autumn before you come back into the winter again. And interestingly, I had a conversation just before our call today, with someone, uh, just talking about actually feeling a little bit lost. Like
Mm,
we grow so fast, then you outgrow your things, you outgrow the people, and then you're like, wait, I've not found the next person to like emulate yet. Now what? Like, where am I going with it? Like, and that's just like, and with women especially, we look up to someone, or we might look at, oh yeah, they're doing really well, and then we get told by society, so we have to accept society, and then all the rest of that, connect it all together and go, right, this is what we should look like, this is what growth should look like.
Yes.
But then we end up running on empty on our terms, because we're chasing after this thing which actually we don't even know what this thing is, because just because it looks like great on someone else doesn't mean it looks great on us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Growth is like it's an individual process that you go through. And actually the most important thing is the willingness to embrace it and not hide from it, or not suppress it, or try to stop it. It's just to be able to embrace it, knowing that it doesn't have to look like anything you've seen before. It's yours, right? It's yours. So you get to inject what feels important to you into it. But growth is part of who we are. How can we expand? How can we be all of who we're meant to be? And that's already inside of us. How can we be all of that if we're not willing to shed the layers and allow ourselves to just keep on being revealed? Because for me, it's like you're just constantly being revealed. Then there's this, and like you were saying, there's these other layers, and then I'm revealed again. And this is what we're constantly stepping into. This is the beauty of life for me. This is where, when I talk about being joyful, this is the joy. This is the joy. But knowing that within all of that comes some of the lessons that you kind of think, I wish I'd never had to go through that. And then realizing, had I not gone through that, though, I wouldn't know this, or I wouldn't know that, or I wouldn't have this, or I wouldn't have met this person. So being able to see the good things and the opportunities that can sometimes come out of some of the worst and darkest experiences. And maybe not everyone agrees with that, but I've seen it so many times, not just for myself, but with so many other people, that I want to say I know it to be true.
Yeah, I can totally confirm that. For myself, for my clients, for my friends, we've all gone through that. And those really, really dark times that you think there's no way, like, what are you doing? Like, universe, God, whatever you want to go, what do you want from me? But then on the other side, you go, oh, now I see why that happened. And it just makes us so much stronger. It kills us off, like, not literally, but kills off the bit that is no longer necessary in order for us to come back to life again. I like people say, the caterpillar to the butterfly. I like to say, actually, let's go for the phoenix. And like, so you get reborn. It is beautiful. So we can go on about this forever, I know. But let's kind of come back to the whole concept of, running on empty. What does that actually mean? Because a lot of times we know what it means to be running like on empty in terms of burnout, or like, I'm just drained, I have no more energy, I'm tired. But actually, something that you said, which was really interesting, was running on empty meant that you were not actually you were not mentally and emotionally well. So let's try to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for me, and I've seen it since, that we can often get caught up. And again, some of this is like the societal stuff. Is like when we look at health, generally speaking, I know now we are talking more about mental health, and so we absolutely should be. But prior to the conversation really being picked up and spoken about, everything was really around physical health, and how do you look, that obsession about, what shape you're in, how much you weigh, and all this kind of stuff, which really, I'm all about looking after the body. But this obsession with weight and stuff, I always just say, look after your body will look after you. And by that, I mean, nourish it, move it, do those things, and your body will find a way. Your body is the most amazing healing machine. It can heal so many things given the opportunity. However, there is a holistic approach to health that I believe is fundamental. And that is, it's never, ever going to be just about your physical health. You've got to be looking at what is going on with me here the mental well-being, and what's going on with me here. Like some people may say emotional, some may say the spiritual, they can say soul. Use whatever terminology makes sense to you. But there is this mind, body, soul that needs to be nurtured and looked after. And as you nurture each part, they grow stronger and they give you the power to grow. Right? That for me is like when you start to find harmony in these three areas of well-being, you start to feel completely different. And I say this hand on heart because for me, once I realized that this was never ever just about being physically well, there was always so much more. Once I started to pay attention to my thoughts and understanding I had a capability to influence them and change them, then I could also influence and change how I felt. Then I could influence and change my behavior and my habits. Then I could start living the life that I wanted to live. And for me, living a life of joy is the life I'm choosing to live. That is absolutely the life I want. And you were saying, you call God, spirit world, whatever you want to call it. I call God God because that's my voice, right? So I believe that is the mission placed within me. And that as part of that mission, I want to show up and I want to be what I'm talking about. I want to demonstrate what that looks like when we take care of all elements of our health. I mean, there are other elements of health. There's financial well-being. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are other elements as well. But I'm just talking as the body itself, as this whole self here. Mind, body, soul need to be nourished. If you don't nourish them, you will end up running on empty. And nourishing one is not enough. You need to nourish all of them.
Yes, and I think that's, such a big, important one to talk about, because actually a lot of people might say, oh, but I go to the gym a lot. I really look after my body, what I eat, I'm healthy, but why am I not getting the results that I want? And you hear there's a lot of athletes out there, tennis players, runners, like whatever sports they're really amazing at. It is those who are looking after the mental health and connecting, they're meditating, as well as doing the running training or whatever training they need to do. Those are the ones who are ending up the winners at the end of the day, because actually we were all blessed with the mind, body, soul, not just the body or just the mind or just the soul. It is all three.
Yeah, completely. And I always, now when I talk about mental health, I talk about it from the perspective of mental fitness. So just like your physical fitness, you go to the gym or you go to a class or you do running, whatever your thing is that keeps you physically well, being able to flex those muscles, utilize those muscles is exactly the same thing that you need to do up here. Flex these muscles, build these neural pathways. Let's start changing them so we can get rid of the ones that are not serving us well, and whilst we're rebuilding the ones that will serve us well. That takes separate work. Can looking after your physical self help? Absolutely. Can it do all the work? No, you need to do some mental fitness work. It has to be done. And then for me, the soul side, the spiritual side, the heart side, whatever words that sit well with you. For me, yes, the meditation. And I struggled with this. Like meditation for me up until 2 years ago, not my thing. I really found it hard to slow down and just be. That was, I'm a doer. So, if I have to sit still now, this is not going to work for me. But 2 years ago, I committed to meditating every morning. And I started with maybe, 5 minutes. I now meditate every morning for an hour, roughly. So I'm up at 5:30. I spend the first 2 hours of my day on me. They're on my self-care, because I understand, one, I don't want to ever feel depleted. And sometimes it only takes one major incident to really suck your energy out of you. So I am not prepared to be in that state. I want to be in a state of overflowing, which means I have to constantly replenish myself. So those 2 hours in the morning are about replenishing self so that I can springboard into my day and turn up and show up and serve the people I want to serve the way that I want to serve them.
That's so powerful. And for those who can't wake up at 5, it doesn't have to be the 5 a.m. You
No.
don't have to be the 5 a.m. club. Just to clarify, I meditate sometimes at like 2 p.m.
Yes.
You know, just because you're meditating at a different time doesn't mean that it doesn't come. But I understand that struggle with meditation because I get that question a lot as well. Like, but I always fall asleep. Maybe you're just really tired and you need to sleep first. Or like, I can't stop my brain. Yeah, and hence this is the gym. It's like, would you expect yourself to be able to lift 50-kilo bar first time you've ever walked in a gym, no training? If you try to do that, you're going to break your back.
It probably won't be a very pleasant experience. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Training. Training.
Yeah, it's all about the training. And so, really kind of bringing this concept of don't allow yourself to get to the point where you're running empty, because actually by that point you are so far beyond, and it's going to take you a lot longer to come back to neutral than if you're starting right at the point of where you are now, like wherever you are now. So you don't get to the I'm now like flashing because I'm like super empty, there's no battery in me left, or I am in so much heightened state that I can't even slow down. Like
Yes.
that is also an element of empty.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's literally in overdrive, and you don't know how to take your foot off the pedal. You're just so used to your foot being on the pedal, you don't know how to take it off. These are not healthy practices. This is not the way that we're designed to be. Yes, we're designed to do lots of things, but that is not one of them. And we also have to accept that when we do these things, they lead to ill health. Ultimately, for most people, they will lead to ill health. And it's like, why do we do it? Why do we keep on allowing societal pressures, workplaces, and all the others to run our health lives for us, instead of saying, actually, I know what's right for me? And I'm not, and I know you can't just turn up at work and say, I know what's right for me and I'm going home now because I'm tired. I get it. However, we can have conversations, and we need to have conversations to say, actually, the demands that are being put on me far outstrip and outweigh what I've got in my energy tank. So something's got to give, something's got to change. And what is that? And have open conversations. That for me is really key, especially in workplaces.
Yeah, so totally right. I want to just I've got this question that I would like to ask before we close. Going back to your story, you shared that when you were having parental problems, and then the relationship problems, and then you were like, then there was financial problems, and then what are you doing with your life? Like, out of when you were in that situation, out all of that, and I know you said you decided. Sometimes it's not as easy as, okay, now I've decided, ta-da, suddenly there's time. Like, how did you navigate through that? Because I think a lot of people out there are thinking, oh, but I've got the to do. How can they start?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to acknowledge that you need help, because that was literally, I probably think, when I opened myself up to realizing, if you think you're doing this and getting out of all of this on your own, you're crazy. You need help. So I feel that when I opened myself up to that, that's when, like, the whole thing about you need to do this work. You need to do this work on yourself. I think the message came when I opened myself up to realizing, had I kept myself shut down and shut in, I probably would have gone into deep stress, potentially depression. I mean, who knows? I don't know, but that's probably the way I would have been heading. So for me, like, the first thing is just saying, there's all this stuff. I am overloaded. and I cannot do this all on my own. I need help. And and really get that help, because I come from a close-knit family. Why I didn't ask my immediate family, probably because I felt too embarrassed, probably because I didn't feel good about myself. There's a million reasons why I probably didn't reach out to the people who were right in front of me. And that may be the same for others, but actually open yourself up and just saying, I need help, and seeing what comes up, or actually proactively finding that thing or that person that can help you. Absolute must. Don't do this stuff on your own. It's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, and I know that, I thrive on community, and I don't know where I would be now if it hadn't been my community, who actually, because I was in depression and I didn't even know it. I had no idea. I was just like, I don't like this. I don't know where. But it took a colleague of mine that I was too scared to talk to come and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, totally. And then the rest is history, right? So
Yes.
make sure you recognize, like, wherever you are, recognize. And there's no judgment in this. It's just like, okay, this is where I am. Even if it's like moment.
Yes.
And then go, I need help.
100%. Get that help. Just be open. I mean, we are not great, generally speaking, at asking for help. We think, oh, this whole story behind it's weak and all this crazy stuff. Please, these are the scripts that we need to rewrite, because this is not a statement of fact. There is no weakness in needing help. We are human beings. We are connected. We are interconnected. We need each other. So asking for help is also an opportunity for you to gift someone the opportunity to help, to be able to use their skills, their knowledge, whatever it is that they have to help you, so that you can become more resourced, and so that you can then step into your flourishing and your growth. That is never going to be a bad turn. Never.
Yes. And also, like, every person's gone through a specific experience, so that they can share with you how to get out of it on the other side.
Yes. It's this beautiful sharing circle that we get to build. And I do think that we just need to also recognize that when we close ourselves off, it's not only that we're closing ourselves off, we're closing other people off, and we're stopping them from expanding with what they could do to serve us, right? So we just need to have this openness and just saying, I'm in this position, and yeah, I recognize that I need support, I need encouragement, I need uplifting, whatever the thing is, and then find it and welcome it and be grateful for it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for sharing that. And I hope that people who are watching this live or listening to the replay afterwards is going to feel inspired to say, actually, it doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter what you've gone through. Yvonne shared her story. If you're going through that, it's not the end of the world. You can change it. You absolutely have the opportunity and the power to change that. So before we close, Yvonne, and we mentioned that you're doing this new thing now. So if you could share with us, and also, make sure you connect with Yvonne here on her LinkedIn. Yeah. So Yvonne, share a little bit more about your new ventures.
Yeah. So I have developed many skills over a very long lifetime, and I treasure all of those things. However, I also am aware that it's really easy to spread yourself thin across all the many different things that you love doing and like doing and can do. And what I really knew within my heart was to actually start getting really clear on who I wanted to help, and with what. What were the services I was going to provide? So I am a self-care coach. I have my own program called the Holistic Reset Program, which is just as it says, it's a holistic reset, mind, body, soul, working with those areas, bringing self back to self whole. And I also have an online community, Permission to Thrive, which is a collaborative project. I am going to be starting homeworkers road trips, which are retreats with a wonderful woman called Karen Ramirez. And I also offer wellbeing programs, workshops to women groups and to women leaders. You know, I will be spouting the importance of self-care until the day I keel over, because that's the mission that's written on my heart. And that's the mission that I'm going to be delivering into the world. You know, on the back of that, I've been a personal trainer and all kinds of other things. And I still do little bits of those things because I still enjoy them. But this is the mission work. This is what I'm focused on. So if you are at a place where you want help and support in getting your self-care in place so that you can thrive and flourish in all areas of your life, reach out. That's what I'm here for.
Yes. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for this amazing conversation. Really enjoyed it. And I know the audience has as well, because it's something that we forget. It's something that is so, so important, but we forget ourselves in our own journey because there's so much going on out there. So hopefully this episode has brought that attention back into everyone to say, remember yourself in this journey of your growth. And for those of you who are able, then we would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this episode? Make sure, if you can, not when you're driving, please put your comments in the in the comment box below, wherever you're watching from. Have you had a similar experiences? What was it like? Do you resonate with Yvonne's story? If you do, we would love to hear from you. And also, what is one thing that you can take away from this episode today? If there is something, I know we shared so much, what is the one thing that you can actually start taking action on from today? Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Yvonne, for coming on once again. I am so happy that we've had this conversation, and I look forward to seeing everyone again in 2 weeks' time for our next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.